Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful Friday. Happy Friday to you all. My name is Dr. Stuart Frost, and today we're going to talk about accelerated treatment. I'm excited to do these webinars. What an opportunity for us to spend about 45 minutes talking about accelerated treatment. I appreciate OrthoExcel and Accelident for giving me the opportunity to share with you what I've learned over the past about 4 years in accelerated treatment. I want you to know that Accelident is my number one modality for accelerated treatment, even though I use other accelerated treatments in my practice. Please, today while we have this seminar, you're welcome to ask questions. If I can answer them during the presentation, I will. If not, we'll go along, and at the end of the presentation, I'll leave about 10 to 15 minutes to answer any of your questions. So it's a pleasure to be here. Let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about accelerating your practice, what you can do, and how you can use good case management principles for accelerated treatment. So let's get this party started. I pose the question to all of you, why is accelerated treatment important to you? And if we look at it this way, we can really hone in on why this is important. Today more than ever before, our profession is being attacked on all sides. The way we practice orthodontics in the past may not cut it today. And in the area that I'm in the Phoenix metropolitan area, the competition has become fierce for patients. And in my opinion, we need to do something different to capture more patients and to enhance the lives of our patients. So we're going to talk about that today. I believe we have to be excellent and use the best technology for our patients if our practices are going to survive. That's what life is all about. It's about recreating ourselves and what we can do to help our patients. By the end of our time together, I'm going to show you a simple way to start growing your practice with accelerated treatment, most specifically using Accelident. What are we facing in orthodontics today? Well, what we're facing in orthodontics today is greater competition. We have orthodontists who are around our areas who are competing with fees. We're graduating more orthodontists each year. In fact, in 2000, I think we graduated in the orthodontic profession 273 orthodontists. Today, that's about almost 400 orthodontists graduate each year. We have general dentists that are doing Invisalign, GPs doing six-month smiles, and now we're going to be faced with direct-to-consumer aligners. So what does that have to do with us? How are we going to deal with this? 6-month smiles, I have news for you. It's not going away. And the general dentists continue to dabble in orthodontics. In fact, I was talking to an industry leader in dentistry as a whole, and his comment to me was just recently that orthodontics, and I'm talking orthodontics on a global aspect in dentistry, he said orthodontics is sizzling right now, and everybody wants a piece of it. Well, what does that do to us in our practices as orthodontists and as dentists in the communities? Well, we have to be aware of what is happening and stay on top of the latest trends and the latest enhancements in orthodontics. So 6-month smile is not going away. We have crystal braces, straightening our teeth from home. All of these things, in my opinion, we have to be aware of them and have to know what we're going to do to enhance our practices. I got this letter from Invisalign fairly recently, letting me know that they are manufacturing their own aligners, not aligners for other companies. Interesting to see what's happening. This is affordable orthodontic braces. Costco's getting involved. We're going to see some crazy things happening in orthodontics over the next 10 to 15 years. But I think we need to stay ahead of the trends and really look at what the future is in orthodontics. I keep getting emails and letters from 6 Month Smiles. Let's talk about the future of orthodontics. I believe that digital orthodontics is definitely a place in our practices. I use the Damon system. I've been in practice for 15 years now, and we have the best technology we've ever had. We have greater need, in my opinion, to finish our cases better than ever. So if we want our practices to survive, we must change with the times. We must get better. And so the question is, how are we going to get better? What are we going to do to separate ourselves and to enhance our practices and our patients? This is Arthur Dagoni, and I'm very sad to say that Dr. Dagoni just lost his beautiful wife, and they were married for many years. But Dr. Dagoni was the dean of the dental school where I went at University of the Pacific, and in my opinion, over the last 50 years, I don't think there's been anybody that's impacted dentistry more than Art Dagoni. And this was a commencement that he gave, and he shared this with me, but he shared what their thoughts were in technology 65 years ago in dentistry. This is what he shared. He said 65 years ago, they thought that routine handpieces or dental handpieces would high speed would destroy the nerves. And we know that we have those at every chair. He said implants were thought to cause bone infections, and we know today they're 99% successful. Fluoride causing cancer. We've heard it all. Orthodontic surgery. These were all thoughts of the industry at that time, and we can see that technology has changed all of that. This was him last year at his birthday. I happened to be teaching up at University of the Pacific in the ortho department, and while I was there, we celebrated his birthday. I think he was 80-some years old. And he was, if you look close, what is he doing? He's on his iPhone. Here he is embracing technology. That's an example to me, example to all of us about where we're headed in the future of orthodontics. So how are we going to differentiate our practices? How are we going to differentiate ourselves? Let's talk about that. It's through accelerated treatment, in my opinion. Innovation and technology. That's what other industries are using to separate themselves. That's what we're going to use to enhance our practices. Let's face it. I think I got this from Steve Jobs. But if any industry has embraced change, it's been Apple products. And I look at what they do, and they make simple products. They make them very well, and they're constantly changing. In fact, I'll never forget the very first iPhone that I bought. I still have my very first iPhone. And every time a new iPhone comes out, I'm in line. I'm standing in line for a new iPhone. So life changes. There's always something better. I believe that technology is a practice differentiation. This is a little study done, and basically in our areas in orthodontics, 49% of the people that come in for a new patient exam, 49% of them have already been somewhere else. They're seeking a second opinion. That's crazy. In fact, in my area just last week, I had a patient that I was the third consult that they had been to, and they had one more to go to. So things are different in the industry today. So how are we going to capture these patients? What are we going to do? Well, we want to provide value to these people, provide value to their treatment. And orthodontics really is the ideal place for innovation and technology. This is a study done that says 78% of orthodontists are interested in adopting accelerated treatment. And we believe that it'll build our practices, and we believe that will improve our economics as well. Of the orthodontists surveyed, 26% that said they offer accelerated treatments in their practice. And of that, 62% were of vibration like Accelident or Accelident. In my practice in Arizona, I'm sure it's many of yours as well, people are demanding or wanting faster treatment times. And at the University of Connecticut, they did a study that reported that the majority of patients feel that orthodontics was taking too long. In fact, it's been many times you hear somebody that says, I for 4 years. And 7 out of 10 patients in this study are not offered accelerated treatment by their orthodontist. Well, we need to change. We need to be better. We need to change the perception of our patients and let them know that, hey, we aren't like our dads or our grandfathers' orthodontics. We're changing and making treatment time decrease. Patients want and expect new treatments. This is a study done that just talks about reducing treatment time. They also expect and they hope for less root resorption, less decalcification. They don't want increased caries or gingivitis or periodontitis. They want faster treatments with less of these problems that we had in the past. Patients want more efficiency and better end results. And what better way that we can do that than with accelerated treatments such as Accelident? This is just a paper that just shows the importance of reducing treatment time. This study in the discussion just talks about adolescents really, they come to us thinking that they want treatment in less than 6 months. Adults, if we can get our treatment times below 12 months with adults, that is key. 12-month treatment in my practice, my goal for adults, most adults, is to have them done in 12 months. So there's many times where we have an 18-month treatment plan that we want to try to get as close as we can for an adult to 12 months. So how do we do that? Well, accelerated treatment. I mentioned earlier that patients, there are other modalities for accelerated treatment, and that's another time to talk about. I use those in my practice, but patients prefer non-invasive accelerated treatment. Now, if you ask a patient, do you want 4 bicuspids out, or do you want a jaw surgery? Most of them will say, no, I really don't want that. So what are we going to do to help them have non-invasive procedures and devices? This study says that they were 3 times more willing to use non-invasive devices to help with their treatment. And a vast majority of these consumers are willing to pay up to 20% more for reduced time. Think about that for a second. They want to pay you more, you're going to see them less, and you're going to have more success in your practice, make more money. So basically, the reduced treatment is huge. That's what the finished part of this conclusion says, that 70% want to offer this to our patients. So in the end, as far as accelerated treatment, we now have the ability to enhance our patients, whether it be parents, kids, enhance their treatment experience, reduce the amount of time they're in treatment, and that improves the final outcome in all areas. Parents, kids, orthodontists, we're all interested in this new technology that really favors faster treatment. So we're going to talk about that. The ability to treat better, to treat shorter times, and keep the patient more comfortable. The perception of the public over the past 50 years of orthodontics is, orthodontics means pain. It means, problems. It means uncomfortable. So we want to change that perception. I use passive self-ligation with the Damon system in my practice. There's other self-ligations that will help as well. I have fewer extractions in my practices, and I use Accelident, and I'm going to talk here in a few minutes about some of those benefits, and we'll talk about treatments as well and what we're doing with that. So differentiation through technology, I'm all for it. Better financial options. We're going to talk just briefly at the end about, well, if we have patients that want accelerated treatment, how are we going to get them to pay for that? If we're going to be done in 8 months, or we're going to be done in 9 months of treatment, whether it's through Invisalign or through brackets and wires, how are the patients going to pay for that? So we'll talk more about that as well. And what I use in my practice is OrthoFi. We'll touch base on that. In 2011 was when I first heard about Excelident. A great friend of mine, Dave Ward, who works for the company, came to me and said, "Hey, Stu, we have this vibrating device, and I'd like you to use it. I think it'll help your patients, and you'll treat faster." And I went, "Vibrating device?" It just didn't make sense to me in the beginning. I was real reluctant to get involved, to be honest with you. Then Dave talked about the science a little bit. He talked about how this was being used to heal in fractures in orthopedics. And he talked about the healing time. And then it started to make sense to me. He started to talk about these pulsatile forces proven to actually physiologically improve healing in long bones. And that just made sense to me. Increasing that cellular signal and enhancing the bone density. So that intrigued me, was the science. All the literature, I know how literature goes, and I've read literature. That's not my forte. I like clinical results. But if you want literature, here's a whole bunch of literature on the subject. Some of the benefits I find in my practice are this: shorter treatment times for fixed brackets and for Invisalign. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my Invisalign with Excelident is turbocharged. That's how I tell it to my patients. Every patient that has Invisalign gets an Excelident. Doesn't matter if they're adult or teenager, they get Excelident, and we'll talk more about that. We have faster treatment time, less discomfort. With my patients that are picking brackets and wires, I really talk to them about a shorter treatment time, but more importantly, I talk about less discomfort during treatment. I had a patient, adult female, aged 50 years old. She is a moderate 6 millimeters of overjet, moderate class 2, deep bite, and I put brackets and wires on her. I talked about in the initial consult using accelerated treatment and using Excelident, and she didn't pick that. I wish she would have. I saw her later, a few months after she started, and I said, "How are you doing?" And she said, I'm kind of miserable. And I said, "Okay, let's get the Excelident out." I said, I'm just gonna give this to you, and if after 2 weeks you're seeing a benefit, then I want you to pay for it. She said, "Great." I said, "If you don't see a benefit, don't pay for it." 2 weeks later, she came back in and she said, "I love my Excelident." And I was so happy. She said, "It just soothes my teeth." And that's what we want for our patients. We want them to have a great experience. So that's what I'm finding in my practice. In the beginning, I didn't have any protocols. I got to tell you, there really hasn't been a lot of protocols for accelerated treatment. Who's to say we see a patient back in 2 weeks? Who's to say we see him back in 4 weeks? I wanted to be careful because I didn't want to, I don't want to burn roots. We all can burn roots. If we use too heavy of a force, we can burn roots. And my feeling is I don't want to do that. So what do we do with our protocols? Let me show you a case here, and I think it's really important that we talk about these cases here. Rebecca is a patient that came in, and you can see she's a beautiful woman. Rebecca is the type of lady, has a type A personality. She wants to be done in 2 months of treatment. She doesn't want to use Invisalign, but she wants brackets and wires. And interesting that here she is. She comes to my practice and she's willing to go into brackets and wires, but she wants to be done yesterday. And so you can see when we look really closely at Rebecca's smile, here we are, we have a reverse smile. She is mildly crowded, slightly narrow arch forms, midline slightly off, and might be a little bit hard to show here, but you can see there's some composite that has closed some spaces between her upper ones. And my approach to treatment was to eliminate the composite and close the space up. So you're going to see that here in a few minutes. If you look, she's good class 1 right and left. And this was a case that could have been done with Invisalign, but she wanted brackets and wires, and I had a clear option with the Damon system, and I am going to use the clear brackets to help in this case. So class 1 right and left, good overjet, overbite. She's just mildly crowded, and we're going to change, most importantly, we're going to change her smile arc or smile line, and we're going to enhance her gingival architecture, widen her smile, broaden her smile. And her idea was, I want to be done in 6 months. And I said, I don't think I can get you done in 6 months. And she said, I want you to try. And I said, the only way we're going to do this is with Excelident. And she said, I'm willing to try it. So here she is. You can see a normal arch forms, upper and lower, very mild crowding. If you look, she does have her 8s present. That's not going to bother me and not going to change anything with treatment. In my practice, all of my patients get cone beam I use iCap in my practice. I couldn't practice without it. You can see this is the very first appointment. You can see we put the clear brackets on. We've chosen a low torque bracket. I've begin to take off the composite that was on her ones. That was there just to close up spaces from before when she didn't want braces. My protocol, again, I told you I didn't have a protocol. What I decided to do was to see her back in 3 weeks. So I started with 016 copper nitai. 3 weeks later, I bring her back in, and you'll see that here in a few minutes. But as you look closely here, you can notice that I'm using good self-ligating mechanics. And I'm positioning the brackets so that I don't, have any inefficiency and ruining that good class 1 occlusion. So you can see the torques I've picked. We've eliminated the composite. She comes back in. At 2.5 months, we're doing our panel reposition visit. So about every 3 to 4 weeks, I'm bringing her back. At 2.5 months, we reposition just the upper left one. I've placed 1825s in the upper and the lower, 1825 copper nitai, and I'm closing space. I have power chain under the wire. We're closing space. Again, seeing her back about every 3 to 4 weeks, and maintaining a good class 1 with my bracket positioning. Upper arch form, lower arch form, maintaining a beautiful arch form. Here she is. You can see the smile starting to change. Again, she's faithful. 20 minutes a day is what she's using for Excelident. 20 minutes a day and getting our benefit. You can see at 4 months into treatment, I took a mirror, painted it black, put it behind so you can see the contrast. And you can see that we have a few bracket position errors. We're going to fix that. 4 months of treatment, maintaining good class 1. Changing the smile arc. You can see what's happening with her smile. This is very quick treatment for me. This case would have been 12 to 14 months in my practice. At 5 months, I've placed my finishing wires, 1925 TMA in the upper, 1725 TMA in the lower. I'm just detailing at this point of treatment time. Maintaining that good class 1. She's got a beautiful smile arc. That's at 5 months. Here she is. Rebecca at 7 months of treatment time. Again, this is a case in my practice that would have been 12 to 14 months. We're treating her out in 7 months treatment time. Look at that, good smile line. The composite's been removed. We've met our goals. She made comments that she loved the Excelident. It reduced the sensitivity in between or the soreness. I never call it pain with my patients when we are in treatment with a tooth movement. I always say soreness. She said it reduced the soreness. She had a beautiful result, just 7 months of treatment time. Look at the beautiful smile line. The gingival architecture looks pretty. Beautiful smile. Now, if we can offer this to our patients and say, oh, a patient like Rebecca that was willing to pay any amount to have her treatment done in 7 months and have a beautiful result, then we need to be offering this to every patient and give them the opportunity to say yes. This is 4 to 5 months faster than regular Damon finishing in my practice. So from here, let me just show you. This is my normal arch wire sequencing. And arch wire sequencing in my practice is I start with 014 copper nighttime most of the time, and we go to 018, 1425, 1825, and do our panel reposition visit and our finishing wire. Now, that's a quick scenario about how we will go in and use our wire sequencing. I don't change my wire sequencing or my mechanics with accelerated treatment. What I'm changing is treatment times in between. This gives you a little bit of, this is from my friend Dr. John Graham, who practices in Salt Lake City, one of the, in my opinion, one of the best orthodontists in the world, who, with myself, we've been trying to be on the forefront of accelerated treatment. And this is just showing how we're 33% faster with our treatment times and eliminating 2 to 3 visits. Now, if you're one like myself or Dr. Graham, where we go in and we calculate fewer visits and we tie a money figure to visits, you think about that. At 3 visits, less visits in your treatment, you got to figure you're saving at least $1,000 in your practice and at treatment time and fewer visits. So a beautiful example. This is a patient, just Clint. This is just showing you that Clint, at 11 months of treatment time total, when Clint's case should have gone somewhere between 16 and 18 months in my practice. This shows you Clint at 6 months of treatment time. And in my practice, I'm just going to talk to you briefly about this. I'll talk more about it, but in my practice, I charge $500 to the patient and wrap that in my fee for accelerated treatment. That's what I did in Clint's case. This is a fascinating case. This is a friend of mine I play golf with. His name is Dale. Yes, in Arizona, we play year-round golf. In fact, after I'm done here, in about a half an hour, I'll be on the golf course. I hope all of you are as well. Dale was age 55 when he came to see me. You can see his deep bite. He wanted treatment at that time. I put Damon brackets on him, and we started treatment with Dale. This is Dale at 4 months into treatment. You can see we're working on his deep bite. I'm trying to broaden his smile. Patients that have strong masseter muscles tend to, we have more trouble widening and broadening smiles. Dale came to me, and you can see we're working with stainless steel here in the Damon system and trying to broaden his smile. Dale said to me at 10 months of time, he said, "I'm done with treatment. Take the braces off." And I said, "Dale, you're not done. We still have about 4 or 5 months left to work on arch form and arch shape and all that fun stuff." And Dale was like, "I can't do any more. Please take the braces off." That's great, Dale. Let's take them off. And you can see a reasonable result. Not a result that I would normally see with my Damon cases and my finishes. But you can see we've opened up the bite, and I'd like to see a little bit more arch width here. But as I do with my patients, I honor what they request. I explained I wanted to go longer in treatment, but that was all he wanted with brackets and wires. Dale went away. We, excuse me, we continued to play golf together, and he kept saying, "I want a broad smile. Is there anything else that we can do besides brackets and wires?" And I said, "Well, there is, Dale. We can do something else." I said, "We can do Invisalign with Excelodent." He said, "What? I know what Invisalign is." He said, "What is Excelodent?" And I told him, and it has a pulsating device, and we can use that 20 minutes a day. It helps us use Invisalign. We can speed up treatment with Invisalign by 50%. And he said, "You think I could get a wider smile?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely." So here's Dale. That was him on the left in his yellow shirt with post Damon brackets and Damon treatment at 10 months. And this is Dale on the right with 15 trays of Invisalign. Now, I built into my Invisalign widening and broadening his smile, but the key was using Excellident. He changed his trays about every 5 to 7 days, and that is a powerful example of how Excellident is enhancing our Invisalign treatment. Look at his arch width. I see this all over every case that I have with Invisalign. I don't use Invisalign, and make it very clear to you, without Excellident. And I wrap the fee into my Invisalign, and I give every patient Excellident that does Invisalign. Let me show you another one. This is Leslie. Leslie's an Invisalign patient, and she comes in. Poor Leslie had a little bit of an accident. She passed out in the shower, hit her head on the sink, knocked her front tooth back, and she can't bite down on her back teeth because she's biting on her upper left one, upper right one. And so we had to do something. She would not go into brackets and wires, and she wanted to be done, again, like most of them yesterday. So what are we going to do to help? We scanned her. We sent this over to Invisalign. In the meantime, I put a lower 1 millimeter clear aligner to open her bite up so she wasn't hitting that front tooth. And we did Invisalign on her. Let me show you her case. Here she is. You can see she's got some typical for age, black pepper salt in between the upper ones. The lower, 2 to 2 are going to have this, but we're going to use Excellident, and we're going to use Invisalign, and we're going to get a beautiful result here. Now, in these types of patients, they need a lot of slenderizing, and especially in her case, we need to slenderize the lowers and to create a little overjet so when she finishes. We don't want her front teeth in occlusion. If anything, very, very light contact. But in a case like this, if we're doing it with brackets, we wait till after 1425 has been in for one appointment. But in her case, she was Invisalign, so we're going to do it all along. So you can see her arch form and arch shape. And here's Leslie at her final. Now, I think for her Invisalign, we were around 9 or 10 months of treatment time. And you can see how beautiful her smile is. And this type of procedure and this type of accelerated treatment with Invisalign, in my opinion, couldn't be accomplished without Excellident. It's huge. If we look real close here, we can see that I did a lot of slenderizing. I've reduced the black triangles. I've reshaped the lowers. I really wanted to create a beautiful smile here, but also protect those front teeth from her accident. Look at the differences here. Again, accelerated treatment was beautiful in this case, and really helped me accomplish this beautiful result. Good arch form on the lower. So from here, for the next just 10 minutes or so, I just want to talk to you about what I do in my practice. Now, the way that I look at accelerated treatment, I look at this from the idea of total office integration. It's not just myself and the TC that are talking about Excellident. I need everybody in the practice to be on board with what we're doing with Excellident. So when my marketers, my marketing specialist, I need her to understand all aspects of Excellident. The financial coordinator needs to understand, the front desk, clinical staff. I want my clinical team members, I want them to be asking about the Excellident, asking how they feel, what the patient's experience has been. So we want total office integration. All patients can benefit from Excellident. What I do in my initial exam is we offer accelerated treatment to everyone. And just yesterday, I started a patient, and I was reviewing with the patient. Now, we put the braces on, brackets and wires, and I just want to make sure. Now, you chose not to use the Excellident, and I just want to review with you what Excellident can do for you. And I talked to her mostly about reducing the soreness and creating that comfortable feeling during treatment. And she said, can I still start or use the Excelodent even though I've already started? And I said, absolutely. She went into the financial coordinator, they changed the contract, added an Excelodent. We can, mid-treatment, you start using Excelodent. It doesn't have to be just from the beginning of treatment. Let's say a patient has missing teeth and we're closing spaces and we're having trouble closing spaces. Let's get the Excelodent on board, increase the ability for those spaces to close. Hygiene, white spots, we can tell patients and parents, hey, we need to speed up treatment. We're having problems with lesions and get them started mid-treatment. So those are just ideas that I have in my practice that I do. Practice marketing, again, why wouldn't we use this in our practices and in the community so that they understand, patients in our communities understand, oh, at Frost Orthodontics, they're doing everything with new technology. They're using something that is a mouth-accelerated treatment, a vibrating mouthpiece that causes teeth to move faster and with less pain and less problems to the gums and to the bone. We want that to be out in the community. One of the things I love about OrthoExcel or Excelodent is they have patient brochures. They can help us with our websites. They are excellent at helping us with our practice marketing. Talk to your local rep about that. The front desk, highlight our practice accelerated treatments, offer it at the front line, enhance the new patient phone call. You know, Mrs. Jones, do you realize that Dr. Frost is on the forefront of new technology and treatment in the area of orthodontics? We offer accelerated treatment options. We need to be using this new technology in all aspects of our practice. Anyways, I could go on and on about this, but, you know, and then number one is our treatment coordinators, helping our treatment coordinators to understand the benefits as well, and using this to enhance our case conversion and getting patients going with Excelodent. That's number one. Educate every patient. Let them know of the benefits. Maybe it's not for them, but I can guarantee you that when they go home and talk about treatment, they're going to talk about Dr. Frost. And not only Dr. Frost's awesome, and he's excellent, and he does great work, he's on the forefront of new technology, and he has this new product in there that will make treatment go faster. Now, that to me is huge. So offer it to all of our patients, and whether you're using brackets and wires or whether you're using Invisalign. So we're communicating the value to our patients, and we're talking to them. Now we come to the point where we go, okay, now we have the financial part of it. The financial contracts need to include the accelerated treatment fees and monthly payments. What do? 74% are willing to extend treatment times just to add the Excelodent to the treatment. And that's not that much more money or time for their payments. Clinical team, let's talk quickly about that. We want to continuously engage the patients during their treatment. It's not just me that I want to say, hey, have you been wearing your Excelodent? Have your clinical team members reinforce how important the 20 minutes a day is, and reassure the patients that they have made the right choice when incorporating this into their treatment. It's huge. So what do? We treat better, we treat shorter, more comfortable than ever before. My opinion, there's all these different aspects that are going to enhance our practice. Passive self-ligation, I'm a huge proponent of that. I want fewer extractions in my practice. I'm going to use Excelodent. Excelodent's going to differentiate and help differentiate my practice through technology. Then I'm going to give my patients better financial options. And the way I do that is through Orthofy. If we're going to start cutting down on the amount of treatment time, we need to provide a way for our patients to help pay for their treatment, and many times we can extend extend their payments past treatment time, and I use Orthofy for that. better options, better ability. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. They're a great company that goes and helps us figure out the financing and get more patients to start. Simplifying that process, I think OrthoFi's model is simplify and amplify and get more patients to say yes. They help figure out those financial problems. One of the beautiful parts about OrthoFi is they have a treatment slider, and I understand there's others that do as well, but giving the patient the ability to customize their payment plan is huge. And you can look more about this, but basically what this does is allows the patient to see that if they add an Accelident, what does that do to their payment? What does that do to the monthly amount of time? And there is, what's cool about OrthoFi is if they need to extend their treatment payments, they can do it. And if they need to do it a longer periods of time, we can add an APR, an interest rate to it. If they have financials issues and credit problems, OrthoFi takes that into consideration. So another way where we can differentiate our practice, give the patients more control over their financing, and allow them to pay over a longer period of time. Awesome. Where do I see the future of orthodontics? For the last 10 years, I've been, around the world and meeting with many of you and trying to help increase the level of orthodontics that we do in our communities. Here's my opinion. I see the future at this particular moment in accelerated treatment. That's number one. Huge differentiation for my practice. Number two, airway orthodontics, facial aesthetics. Neuromodulators and derm fillers are really coming into play with TMJ patients and our practices. That's going to be big. Differentiation by the artistry of orthodontics, that's huge, and we're using Accelident to help us get there. Now, remember in the beginning I told you I'd show you a simple way to get started using this process. If you want to reinvigorate your practice, if you want to make a difference in your communities, if you want to set yourself apart, if you're ready to get your practice growing again and be enthused when you come to your practice, start using Accelident. One last way I'm going to tell you that you're going to be able to see huge benefits is go to your rep. Commit yourself today to purchase 10 units. Purchase the 10 units. Start being a part of the future of orthodontics. The future is bright. I know there's a lot of things that are happening, but the future is bright. I just want to tell you at this time, thank you very much for attending this part of it. I'd be happy to answer some questions if there's some questions.